So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about blues improv, okay? So this is playing over blues chord progressions, 12-bar blues. It can be regular 12-bar blues, or what I like to call quick change 12-bar blues, which in this lesson, we're going to be using the quick change version, which is basically the same, but you move, it's called quick change because you move to the 4 chord after just 1 bar. So it's... and then back to the 1, as opposed to playing the 1 chord for 4 bars straight at the beginning. So since this is kind of just beginner stuff, first we're going to just play, the track we're going to be playing to is in the key of G, okay? So when we're talking about blues, now it's a little different than you would approach other stuff, say just like kind of a rock progression, or just a kind of a regular major chord progression of any type. With the blues, you can kind of do different stuff. So you can use, depending on how you want it to sound, you can use pentatonic major or pentatonic minor. I'm going to give you a couple guidelines of some ways that people typically approach playing over the 3 chords of a blues progression. But for the first part, let's just start by playing the pentatonic minor scale, because that's probably the more common and more beginner scale. So it's in G major, or it's a G 12-bar blues pattern. So the chords are G dominant 7, C dominant 7 or C9, and D9. Now, so for our home bass, we talked about before, it's just going to be G pentatonic minor. And if you aren't familiar with this, then you're way ahead of yourself anyway, but pentatonic minor scale, right there. It helps if you know, just to be more creative, if you know the boxes, the relative boxes all the way up the neck. We have lessons on that too, so you just need to search it. So that's some of them. So I'm playing the same notes. When I say relative boxes, it's the same exact notes as this bass scale that we all know. But it's just, it gets you in that same scale, but you can play it all over the neck. Okay, so it's good to know those, memorize them. They're the same notes, they're just different finger patterns, because when you move, the finger patterns change when you move from one position to the next. Now, your home bass can also be the blues scale, which is the pentatonic minor scale with a flatted 5th. So it's just pentatonic minor, you add in the flat 5 there. Now, typically that note, there's a certain way you want to treat it. You never really want to just hang on that flat 5. You want to use it as a passing tone or a slide up to a note or something you hit quickly. So say a lick like... That's the note right there. So I didn't stay on it, I use it as a passing tone. Right there. You could slide up to it and back. Use it right there. right there. But I never just stay on it. It's part of what makes it sound bluesy, is that note, because it gives you some, what's the word I'm looking for? Makes you feel uneasy, and then it makes, when you resolve it, it makes it feel even more powerful. So it's like, you're back to a normal note. So it helps create that tension. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, so minor, pentatonic minor, and blues scale. That's our home base. Even if you just are familiar with this one position, then just, stay there. So we're going to use our bends, we're going to use our slides, vibrato to make things sound interesting. So we're going to roll a jam track here, and I'm just going to stick with right in this box and just kind of play some stuff. You kind of see what I'm doing. There's no exact science, you just got to be creative. Try different combinations of notes. If you're a beginner, the thing to avoid doing is just playing the scale. You don't want to just... You just don't want to go up and down the scale. Try to mix things up. You don't have to play a lot of notes. You could go back and forth 2 or 3 notes, just create little rhythms, little note patterns, and that's all it will take. So let's roll this jam track, and I'll just kind of play along and show you some stuff. Okay, so you see there, I basically just used blues scale. Sometimes I couldn't help myself. I would slide up to another box, but that's just out of habit. But basically I could do a lot with just in that one scale. But I was trying to focus on notes of the chords passing by, at least the root notes, right? So when I was on the A, I tried to end phrases on an A note or a third of A. Okay, and then when I was on the D, I tried to end or build phrases around a D note. And same with the E, okay? So that's one way to do it, is just stick to that G pentatonic scale. Now, I want to run through it again and talk about this concept. So Something that will help you highlight the chords underneath, and a lot of people take this approach. When you're on the one chord, the G, in this case, you're going to do mainly pentatonic minor, blues scale. When you go to the 4, which is C, I'm going to go up to this box, that B.B. King box that we do, which is, now we're combining pentatonic major and pentatonic minor. So you play pentatonic minor over the 1 chord, you play pentatonic major over the 4 chord. Because if you go to that box, which is, here's our regular box, here's our second box, there it is, right there. If you've studied, we do a whole volume on B.B. King, if you want to really study his particular style, but a lot of people refer to this as that B.B. King box, and it's just these notes. Now, if you notice these notes, it looks an awful lot like a C pentatonic minor scale. Kind of. More like a C pentatonic major scale. Sorry. The box is here, right? But I can throw that note in there because it's still, I'm combining G pentatonic minor and G or even C pentatonic major. So it's, you can follow the chord and change the scale to match the chord. So when I go to C, the 4 chord, I could change scales completely. Instead of doing G pentatonic major or minor, I can do C pentatonic major or mixolydian even. And then go and just follow the chords like that and change every time, which is a tool you have. In this case, I'm kind of playing C. It could be considered C mixolydian. So I can play either of these notes and both those. I'm also gonna add in that note, which is our flat 5 of the G blues scale, with that little lick. If you see that, you'll see me do that. But this can also just be considered G pentatonic major. So they're all relative, kind of. Well, the C mixolydian and the G pentatonic major are very closely related. So, but where it's at, you're highlighting a C, there's the 3rd of C, there's the root, and there's the flat 7. Which is the chord underneath, is a C7 or a C9. And then when you go back to the 1 chord, you go back to your straight G pentatonic minor. And then when you go to the 5 chord, you can do anything really. You can arpeggiate it if you got your arpeggios down and play. You could just arpeggiate a D7 chord, or just try to find your D notes, or you can stay here. A lot of stuff will work here, but if you can highlight a note, the bend here in the second box of G pentatonic minor, this note right here, if you bend that bends you up to the 5, which is a D note. So sometimes it's cool. You'll hear me do, when it goes to the 5 chord, then it goes to the 4 chord after that, right? I'll bend this note a half step up to the 4, to the C, which is the root of the 4 chord. It's a lick I pretty much stole from Stevie Ray Vaughan, or he commonly plays it. So there's a couple ideas to think about. So we're gonna roll a jam track again. I'm gonna try to show you how I'm kind of switching between those two positions. So I was trying to show you and kind of talk through it, but the one thing I did there that I want to show you too is on the 4 chord. I was highlighting this. So we play as a 9 chord. I was playing as a 9 chord, but the 4 chord right here, a dominant 7 chord, I was kind of hitting that note that's part of that chord. It's the 3rd. I was going, which is kind of a cool sound, because I'm hitting part of the arpeggio. So you can look for those chord shapes. If you know your chord shapes real well, just look for them within the scale. So there's a basic approach where you can start. And that'll get you a long way too. So in the next lesson, I want to talk about kind of the opposite approach some people do, if you want your blues to sound a little more upbeat. So we'll do that in the next lesson.